It's 3 minutes past and Arthur's joined, so let's get started. Welcome everybody to the December 2nd SIG Multicluster call. And on the agenda today, we have 2 scrub items from Arthur and 1 from me. So Arthur, do you want to, well, I guess the first one is just looking for an LGTM, but the second one might be worth explaining a bit more.
Yeah. Sorry, what you were going to say?
I just said you can share your screen if you want to.
I have a bug when I share my screen, my mic is off.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sharing screens is great on Zoom, right? My Zoom just crashes when I do it, which is why I don't. But... All right, Laura, thank you very much.
So it's the second item. So it's something that we talked like a month ago. It's basically to like before on. So it's about MCS API, and in MCS API, when you export a service, the port and the port don't exactly match. You have a union between all the ports, and like what we discussed a month ago was that if the ports are not identical, we still do the union, but we raise a conflict. And that's mainly what this PR is about. It's also kind of recognizing that you might have the same issue with IP family and implementers might do the same, but this is implementation defined, so they do what they want, essentially. And yes, and also if you when you export ports, the traffic should only be directed to the service that actually export the ports. So like if service one export HTTP1, service 2 export HTTP2. If you query port HTTP1, it should only go to the service that declare HTTP1. I said it like in a compressed way. I don't know if my explanation like here makes sense, but yeah, I hope the text does. So yeah, it's all of that consideration put into some small sentence here, basically.
Right, because on the port side of things, there's no way we can assume that HTTP1 and HTTP2 are equivalent, so we can't redirect across ports. And so, yeah, it makes sense to only send traffic to the same port on a destination service.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you consider all endpoints regardless of what port they have, maybe like the cluster doesn't actually have the ports, and you will have some weird issues like.
Yeah, it might be just impossible to set up the connection.
Yeah, exactly.
You might end up going to some different service entirely that happens to be listening on the same port.
Yeah, well, I was searching into my mind the Cisco errors, but yes, that's explaining in plain English.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just sharing too. I remembered we talked about this and took some notes in the agenda on this date, on the 14th. So for any back story. Great. And then I see there's a second PR2.
Yeah,
for the conformance tests. Yeah.
Yeah, and the API, because I mentioned like the IP family, and I think I quote the name of the IP family, so better to actually define it.
Right. Okay.
It's not testing the port mismatch though. Like just the new conflict.
The service, or sorry, the conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we want to have it to have like the proper. I don't know if there is a conflict and the traffic should not go actually toward the endpoints, but I didn't do it so far. I don't know if you have like strong willingness to have it directly, I can do that, or else we can just put an issue and deal with it
Yeah,
later.
I think this is good, but
Yeah, this is what this is what's needed so that implementations can follow the kit,
yeah,
and then the conformance test can come later.
yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, and after all of that, I guess I will try to open peers to try like to bump to beta v1. So in case you want to see this happening, review the peer.
Oh yeah. Great. Cool. Any more questions or thoughts about this? Okay.
Apparently not. And Ryan's joined just in time because I added, the one on property ladder, which got flagged by the triage robot today as stale.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't got a chance to work on that.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll work on that this week.
Okay. Do we feel that
Thanks.
this triage note is still relevant, or do we even have the context to be sure about that?
Yeah, I don't think anything significant's changed since then.
Sure.
It was mostly about changing the from a sort of explicit voting mechanism
Right.
to having votes based on actual implementations.
I see. We had a discussion about it that are now incorporated comment threads. Okay, it looks like there's some integrated. All right, I think this triage note may have. I guess that's what I was referring to about other crossroads from 6.17. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna highlight that this is the latest and most, how do you say, like, able to be used. What's the word? Most useful, or I don't know, complete, clear / concise triage note of what to do next. I don't know. Sorry, vocab is not good right now. Is this one. Okay, just for easier following. Okay, great.
All right, thank you, Laura. And yeah, Ryan, as always, no rush. It's just I just wanted to make sure we didn't forget about this one because it's quite
Actually,
important.
Speaking of which, like Kubefleet is starting to implement a few of them, so that's actually a good timing that we start to have some. So it's now both based on implementation, right? So it's actually related. Yeah. I'll update it a little bit.
Nice.
Okay. And there weren't any topics added to the agenda today, so if nobody has anything to discuss.
I have just one follow-up on the survey data. Last time I mentioned whether.
Oh yeah.
How can we get access to the data? Yeah. Since Laura is here, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I heard that people were interested in the raw data from the survey that myself and Priya put together, and Nick. We can't share this data because we explicitly put on the survey that we would not share the raw data, only like aggregated stuff. And there is also a policy, at least to follow, like we have to follow what we said on the survey. If people want us to be able to change that, then I want to know like basically what we want to do and how we want to say that and under what terms we think that the raw data should be shared. I'm going to link the text from our survey and then also the Kubernetes policy so we can interpret this amongst people who are interested. So 1 second, let me get that. If there's something, I think part of this question is about like, if there like alternate analyses maybe. So if there's a specific research question or analysis question that you want answered with either the current data or going forward, then I think that's also something that we want to know so that we can do.
Yeah, maybe I'm not aware of that policy. Maybe I just need to first look at that policy, what exactly
Sure.
that is, then I can get an idea.
Yeah, so let me link here and I'll put it in there's this, and then this is what we wrote ourselves that we have to follow. So if we want some like changes to this, then, oh, thanks, Stephen. Then let's talk about it, basically. But yeah, that's the situation for this one.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you for the explain.
Yeah, and if there's something specific that, again, if there's something specific you want an analysis on, and actually Priya and I are still working on like a even longer readout of like the aggregated data, and if that still doesn't answer whatever questions that you have, then let's talk again about if there's either another analysis we can do with the data that we have, or if there's like a change to the questions that we're asking or like the method that we use, because I don't know how much was discussed about this before, but there's plenty, of course, of follow-ons that we could keep doing as part of like sort of a UX research sub-team function, of SIG multicluster. So I think there's a lot more opportunity too.
Yeah, I think the background is basically there are some questions that we don't looking at the analysis. We had a lot of questions, so that's basically the background of this.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah. If there are like questions about the data that we asked, then please like make a list and we will answer them. And then if there are questions about data that we don't have, or maybe you just put all the questions that you have, and then if it's unanswerable because we don't have that data, then we can talk about how we can change future surveys or address that with more surveys or focus groups or whatever. I think that would be really helpful so that we can figure out what people in the community even want to know about what's up out there. But yeah, if we can start from like concrete questions that you have, then I think we can figure out what we actually need to do going forward.
Sure, that's good.
Yeah. Hey, John, you have a hand.
Yeah, I figured I might as well use it.
Yeah.
I think one of the, if I remember correctly, the survey outcomes, some of the aggregate results were very useful, but it turns out that some of the specifics of how someone is using or implementing something, say there's a chain of dependencies or a configuration model. It's very hard to have those free form descriptions turned into aggregatable, if that's the word, research questions. I think that's one of the reasons why Ryan, and I think also myself and some others, were curious about the raw data. I don't think it's much of an issue right now that it's not part of the what can be shared. But perhaps what we could do is maybe have an LLM generify and essentially make it a lower fidelity, because that's what LLMs do, and that way only have the descriptions of the free-form fields that people may have entered. Maybe there's a way to, well, it's not really hashing, but a way to further anonymize or decouple it from whatever else someone might have entered. That's probably not something that we can do right now because that would be against the policy. But it might be a possibility later down the line, because the free-form entry where someone explains how they're doing multi-cluster or how they're using it or what they're doing day to day, that's so free-form. I don't think it's realistic to have a good aggregate of such entries.
Yeah, I think there's like a spectrum of how to do that are different levels of fidelity. A variation of what you're saying is how Priya was able to turn the qualitative answers into the aggregate slides that she did. So there is an aspect of that. Maybe like if there was more information about the methodology that we use, maybe that would make everybody feel a bit more, I don't know, bought into what the aggregate data is compared to the raw data. But then, yeah, I agree, depending on how we phrase or word, or at least like, I think we need to come up with some prior list of like what it is we want to be, what of those methodologies we kind of want to do, so we can articulate that to the survey respondents at the time that they fill it out, so they know. And I think that's like our obligation, and when it comes to like sharing the data. But yeah, I think there's definitely a spectrum of those, and we can see if we can get a little closer on the higher fidelity, especially with the tools that we have available now.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm also not too well versed enough in surveying and methodologies to know how to correctly model your questions in such a way that it would give you the answer that you can't really predict right now, but you might want to answer later. But anyway, I do think that even without it, the survey as is super useful. So it's definitely not that without the raw data that you can't be productive with the results. So I think that's also very important to keep it clear.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll keep making incremental improvements on the project so that we can, handle both sides of like doing the survey, ethically, or whatever the word is for that, and also get some good info that we can probably share. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
For example, I also use these surveys in completely different context. So when I'm, say, with a team at the company where I currently work, or some of freelance work, we also review these types of surveys if people don't know what questions to ask or don't know in what fidelity to answer the questions. Because if someone feels like they don't have anything to contribute to, say, a CAP or anything in the Kubernetes ecosystem, and these are also great models to show people how to get from because I think we did have quite a lot of respondents, but not as many as I would have thought. But it also helps people to get a feel of the way you can reason about those questions and answer them. It's not as hard as some people might think it to be. And with the thousands, if not millions, of clusters out there, I would have expected a much larger volume. But then again, that's probably my lack of being not really well versed in questionnaires or surveys.
There, but I think yeah, sorry, I'll have to like re-listen to that later because I only heard like
I was
sorry.
also processing while talking. It becomes a little bit of a
okay,
off the cuff thing, but it's I think it's useful to share that because I think more involvement is more better. I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So, I agree, and yeah, I think there is also like on the aspect of getting data that is free form-ish, but still aggregatable. Some of that is about like sample size. And though, as I understand it, in terms of like survey recruitment and like completion rate, through the history of like Kubernetes as a project trying to get this type of information, this was very good. I think there's still a lot of like both time and room and variation of stuff that we can do to like increase recruitment so that we can get like a better, like see bigger patterns, I guess. So I don't think that was 100% what you were talking about, but at least a little bit of what you were talking about.
Oh yeah,
so,
definitely. That's no,
Yeah.
totally agree. So yeah, cool.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So in general, if people have more questions after having seen the KubeCon NA readout, which was like a abbreviated version, please send them along. And then Priya and I are still working on like a longer form version that might have even more answers for people to share with SIG Multicluster that isn't crammed into like a 10 slide maximum or whatever. And maybe that will answer some questions, but will certainly cause more questions. So then please continue to forward the research team all of your questions, and we will try and answer them either with the data that we have or incorporate them into future efforts so that we can get those questions answered for you properly. That's it.
All right, thanks. And yeah, I was about to write, but people should contact Priya, Nick, and you, Laura, if they have questions about this, right?
Yes.
There we go. Okay, anything else people want to discuss? Going once, going twice. All right, so thank you everybody for joining. And I'll see some of you for real this time on Thursday, because I said that last week, but there wasn't an APAC call last Thursday. But there is one this week. And the rest of you next Tuesday.
All right, see ya.
Have a good rest
See
of
ya.
the week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.